Tomorrow marks the 5th anniversary of GDPR, and man, what a wild ride has that been. We have had a lot of learnings, a lot of changes, and we are now going to welcome 5 experts on stage who have had first-hand experience and will share their knowledge with us here on stage live from Vienna in the heart of Europe. They will talk to us about what they have learned from GDPR and what has changed since it came into effect. Again, 5 years tomorrow. But first, I want to welcome my colleague Alexandra Vetrovsky-Brychta on stage, who will lead this panel. She is right now the business director of OnFly and the first female president of the Dialogue Marketing Association in Austria. Prior to that, she has held a couple of CEO positions in various data-driven and media companies like Bisnote and Herald Business Data. Alexandra, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Nina. Yeah, thank you, and a warm welcome also from my side to that great conference, to a topic which couldn't be more important than it is these days. I think the most of you will remember 5 years ago, it was one day before D-Day of GDPR in Austria and in Europe, of course. And there was a vision behind the GDPR and why it has been established. And this vision was to have a unification of the European data protection law so that we have it similar or more or less similar in every country, in every member state of the European Union. And of course, many other targets should be tackled and fulfilled by it. What I learned yesterday, because at the Dialogue Marketing Association, we had yesterday also an online talk about 5 years of GDPR, what happened and where's the status now. And I learned at this talk that the reason, more or less the reason for the GDPR was a data breach that a call center agent has stolen data in Germany from telco providers. And then the German government said, well, we do need a data protection law which really is hard enough. And also shows that it is important, data protection is important, and not only nice to have, because the right to protect the data is, as we all know, a very, very important and very necessary right for all the users and all the people in the European Union and worldwide, of course. So, 5 years ago, everybody was kind of sweating and going in the last mile of being ready, being compliant for the GDPR. And I think all of you will say that this point 5 years ago has brought data protection on the table, on the surface. Because the laws in Europe, especially in Austria and also in Germany, have been very strict also before the GDPR. But it was more, kind of nice to have. And after GDPR, it is that data protection is daily business, and it should be daily business in all the business processes we have, even if it's marketing, it's product development, it's HR, it's the whole company, the whole organization who should be caring about the GDPR and the data protection. But, here comes the but, it is also complicated. You know, there is a social network, Facebook, who has the statuses, and there is one status, and it's complicated. And I think this really well describes how the status or how the relationship with the GDPR is. Because even if we have that law, and we have now many experiences with it, we still have obstacles we have to foresee and we have to tackle. And therefore, I am very, very proud to have a panel who will show you the experiences they made in being or becoming GDPR compliant and keeping that compliance over all this year and over all these obstacles. So please give also a warm welcome to my panel. I will start with Knyrim. He's founder and partner of Knyrim, Trieb, Rechtsanwälte. Then Stefan Santer, Enterprise Sales Director at Didomi. Natalie Ségur-Cabanac, Head of Regulations and Compliance from Trieb. And last but not least, Carolina Stepka, Senior Privacy Consultant at DataGuard. So, yeah, welcome here on stage. I think we have now more or less 1 hour where I think all of you and even me are very interested in your opinion, in your experiences, which you are sharing with us. Yeah, Natalie, I would really like to start with you because you really also represent the industry and where you have really also one of the part of the telco industry who was kind of the reason why GDPR happened or has happened. So 5 years ago, the GDPR forced to implement data protection processes in each company. They should be constantly managed, and this was or is theoretically the intention of the GDPR to put data protection into the DNA of a company. And I'm very, very happy that this is happening, because if you do it like that and you will base it in your DNA, in your processes, then it's kind of a success model. But this is the theory, how it is in real and practical life, and how do you manage to have these routine processes with privacy by design, and what topics you are dealing with these days?
First of all, I think when we look back, I think you will agree that it was a very hard learning for many people and organizations that GDPR has come to stay. It's still there. It's still a strong regulation. Even in the beginning, we saw many people, many organizations who tried to ignore or just postpone the very demanding requirements of GDPR for companies. And what we see now that companies are dealing in very different ways in getting done with GDPR requirements. But what we all agree, I think, is that we have to take GDPR very seriously. This week, we have a big reminder how serious GDPR could be. You said it, the most important guideline for me, for companies, is to look after data privacy by design. I think it's the important guideline and the ideal approach to implement GDPR if you follow data privacy by design rules. We have focused on this from the very beginning on. We designed our data privacy management system around data privacy by design and are still doing it. What was our approach? What is our approach? We have always been guided by how best to achieve access to individual colleagues in the company. You have to convince every person working with Trieb to convince that it's very important, GDPR, to have data privacy by design in every step they do during the work with Trieb. How have we done this? Well, fortunately, our CEO at that time decided to introduce the agile way of working for the whole company, and we took that as an opportunity to design the data privacy management system using also agile methods. And I think, in my opinion, this was the cornerstone for the quite successful establishment of data protection processes at Trieb. The other thing is who is taking the accountability. Accountability is a very principle in GDPR, but often it's not clear who is responsible, who takes the accountability of meeting GDPR requirements. Often some people say, yes, we have a DPO, we have a data privacy expert, so everything is done. What should we do more? But in fact, you have to convince every person working for a company to feel accountable, to take responsibility, to include data privacy by design matters in the daily work. Well, what we do from my department is to assist the colleagues in taking accountability and responsibility. We offer tools. We use the normal collaboration tools that people use in their everyday work anyway. And in this way, we create acceptance, transparency, and a good dynamic that allows the data protection processes to resonate in the normal workflow. I think this is very important. That is not an add-on, which is very burdensome. It has to resonate in the normal workflow every person does during the day with TRI. Of course, we also have people who are still unhappy with data processing, extra miles to go. But in the end, I think it was quite successful how we implemented it in the company.
Thank you so much, Natalie. You said there are still people who are unhappy. May I ask the audience, who is happy with the GDPR? Yeah, but not. It could be worse, I would say. And now we make it vice versa. Who is unhappy with the GDPR? So also there, the status, it's complicated, is valid, yeah, because I think we do have some people also here who are not really happy and not really unhappy, and then I would say it's more or less complicated. Yeah, Natalie, you said there was a reminder beginning this week to show again that it is very important and it is necessary to be compliant with the GDPR. Knyrim, the question goes now to you, because I think this is also what is interesting for most of you. We heard on Monday from the Irish DPA that there was a new verdict against Facebook. It was not really unexpected, I would say, because yeah, it is a long story and a long time already that this topic is on the desk of the Irish DPA. But it has, I would say, two big news. One is it is really high fine with 1.2 million. So this is also, I would say, for Facebook, an amount which is not, we will pay it or it doesn't harm us. Yeah, and we will see how the stocks will react to that verdict. And the second topic is it is not only a fine, but it's also that they have got the information that they are forbidden to transfer the data. Of course, with a kind of a period of time and all those things, but it is really, they are not allowed anymore. So maybe you can iterate a bit on that, and also how do you see now the impacts on also the data privacy, the transatlantic data privacy framework, which should be the successor of Privacy Shield, because this is also pending and we are all waiting for it. Yeah, and I think we have to think about both of these developments now. So could you iterate a bit on that, please?
Yeah, it's quite interesting to see a bit of a parallel. I started privacy 20 years ago, when in Austria nobody was interested, in particular those companies which were run by founders or owners. They were not really interested in that. They said, okay, how much is the fine? Oh, it's so low, it's worth like 25,000 euros, so it's not interesting to us. And then 5-6 years ago, they started to realize that fines get higher. Then it was great for us because we had a lot of business. You can see it from the photos. I look a bit tired here. This was taken like 5 years ago. So it was a hard time from a living, not from earning. It was good. And what is interesting now, all these very high fines against Meta, Google, Amazon, these are companies which are sort of owner-run and founder-run. So I have a bit the feeling that it's like 20 years ago in Austria that they'll think, okay, I founded this company and that's my business idea and I'm going to pursue it, and I'm not taking this stuff serious. And so it was expected that the fines will get higher and higher. And I looked on the numbers. In 2020, we had 0.2 billion of fines in all over Europe. In 21, we reached the first billion. In 22, we had 1.6 billion. And now we only have 1.2 billion meter alone. So I think we are getting a 50% increase of fines every year, some sort of that, or even more. So you wonder, is it just because these big tech companies are keeping a risky business, or are things unclear? To me, many things are not so unclear, because it's all in the 7 principles of the GDPR. So if you look there, and have the principle of transparency, the principle of lawfulness, you stick to this, you shouldn't have these problems and shouldn't get the fines, because these fines were about transparency and about lawfulness. But consent, it was most of them, apart from the newest one now this week, all the fines were about consent and transparency with cookies and direct marketing. So it's, I think, the business of most of you in the room. Yeah. That's the global view. In detail, of course, there are questions open. I counted it yesterday. We have still 39 questions or proceedings pending with the European Court of Justice at the moment, with unclear questions. So the detail is the devil is in the detail. So yes, there are things pending, and that's probably one reason why companies say, okay, before it's not solved, I continue the business. So it's a bit of the question how much risk you take, and we have this issue always with this international data transfers. So we know there is an issue. We have as a solution at the moment, we have the standard contractual clauses. Now we see that there is an issue with there. You can get heavy fines if you rely on that, and don't do it in a perfect way. That's what we tell our clients. It's a risk, and we are waiting for the new EU-US data transfer solution. The European Commission says it will be here until summer, so it should be in 2-3 months. We will see. I think if it's not here until autumn this year, end of this year, it will not come, because we have votes in Europe next year, and we get a new commission, we get a new parliament, so they really need to speed up things, and then it will be there, and then I think many companies will again rely on this for the 3rd time. And then Max Schrems already announced that he will fight against it. So maybe in 5 years, we have the next explosion that again the European Court of Justice will say, okay, it's not a good idea to have it, and blow it up like the last 2 systems, like the Privacy Shield and Safe Harbor. So in the end, this is a constant issue between Europe and the US, which I think needs probably a better solution in the US, a better political solution, and it gives a really problem, I think, here, this issue to companies, because it's a really uncertain thing to transfer data to US or US companies. And it's interesting that they say you cannot transfer the data, because the solution would be that you keep the data in the EU, but the question is if that's the real full solution, because it's still Facebook or Meta is an US company, and you have the Cloud Act, so still in the US Secret Services might ask for the data even it's stored in the US. So I wonder a bit if that's really a useful part of the decision to say stop the transfer, because that's not solving the issue completely. They might then store the data in the EU, but still is the question, is there a legal solution to the basic problem that's behind it?
Yeah, definitely. So also there, it's still complicated. And you mentioned the topic of consent, of course, which is the second highest topic where companies are getting fines about it. What I really find interesting is, I don't know whom of you has mentioned it. So Instagram has it done last week and Facebook this week. Or more or less, I got it in my feed, that they changed the legal base of their consenting and why they are using the data, and they are now taking a legitimate interest for it, because there was also a verdict beginning of this year in January about the consent topic for Facebook, for Meta, not only Facebook. This was really Meta. The verdict from Monday was just Facebook, so Instagram and the others are not affected, but that from January was really for the whole Meta group. And it is not only that they taking now legitimate interest, where Max Schrems is already preparing and giving advice how to not consent to that, and has some forms on their site, on NOIP, on the website, which can be used. But they also say that if you are using the app after the 5th of July, then you have consented. And this is also, I would say, not the explicit consent which should be needed, or which should be given, that it is lawful. So consent is also, I think, a topic where we do see problems, where we do face obstacles. I would now like to ask Stefan and Carolina about the user perspective, because we heard now some things from the legal perspective about consent, but there is, of course, the user, and the user should be in the center, and the user perspective is the most relevant one, in my opinion, and this is also what the Dialect Association always is telling, that putting the user in the center and being user-centric and putting you in the shoes of the user and being relevant for them is a success factor. So to have full transparency and to meet their settings, their privacy settings, what they want, should be base of the trustful digital offering. Would you agree to that? I don't know who wants to take the question. Stefan?
I can take it. Yeah. Yes, I would fully agree with that. And I think most of the time there's a big mismatch. That is at least what we see, and I speak with a lot of companies out there. The mismatch is between the user expectation and the company habits regarding privacy. If you follow a little bit the privacy scene, there are a lot of studies out there which say that users get more and more privacy sensitive. What I mean about users, I mean all of us. You can say, yeah, that's maybe true. If you look in your data, then you will see that in the last couple of years, for example, the ad blocker rate went up. If you try to interpret that, that would mean that these people don't want to share their data with you. On the other side, you mentioned the consent topic. That's another great indicator. Consent, when we speak about consent, we usually also mean opt-in rates. And opt-in rates are very important. Why? Because that's the entry point for a lot of data strategies, right? Without consent, most of the time you will not, on a compliant way, be able to use the data. There is a big difference between ePrivacy and GDPR regarding personal data and non-personal data. I don't want to go into detail, but this is also most of the time a very important difference. So on the one side, we have the users, which get much more sensitive. There's just a funny fact on the side. My mother just asked me 2 weeks ago, called me, said, okay, I'm on a website. She's 70 years old, so not digital native. She said, there's a cookie banner. She knows that I'm working for a consent management platform solution. I think that I'm aware what to do. And she said, what should I do? I don't want to give the data. Yeah, I'm afraid. Yeah, it was not clear what she should do. The first thing she said, I don't want to tap on accept all. Yeah. At the end, what she did is she left. Yeah, and went to another website. Yeah, this is also what we see in studies, which says that there was one. I think it was 60% of the people who were asked that they would go away from a website if they don't trust the company regarding the data that they will use from me, meaning the data treatment. So they will go to most likely to the competitor. The question is, do I want to have it? How much I paid that this user went to my website? So there's a lot to discover here. And on the other side, think about the younger generation, the digital natives. Yeah? Most of them will use ad blockers. They're familiar with that. They know the system. They will use the other modes, yeah, that help them to hide in the internet. And that's a big threat for a lot of companies who do digital and data-driven marketing campaigns. That's one thing. And on the other thing, I think that was very important, what Natalie said, yeah, is if I speak with companies, most of the time this privacy topic is a side project, right? They come to me and said, okay, I have to put a decline all button on my consent layer because my legal team said, okay, I have to have it. Yeah? I want to have it quick. It bothers me. I'm afraid that something is wrong. Please do it. Yeah? I don't have the time. It's not my resource. There's no target that attached to this task. Yeah? And I think that's a big problem. Why? Because this touch point, for example, for the cookie banner, the first touch point, most of the time you go the first time on a website, is crucial for the whole data strategy afterwards, is also crucial for the whole tech stack afterwards, right? Think about, you have a consent rate of 80%, yeah? There are 100 people coming to a website, yeah? 20% decline all, for example. You lose 20% of the audience there where you can't use the data. At the end, that could have in the metrics a big downside, but on the other side, if you do it the right way, you can also improve here. And that's basically, that leads me to my second point that I want to make. It's not privacy, it's not a compliance problem anymore. I think if I would ask if you take privacy, GDPR seriously, yeah, you would say, yes, of course, I want to be compliant, it's important, high fines, blah, blah, blah. Yeah? But on the other side, the question is, do you take privacy serious in a business context? Yeah? So for me, and that's what I see from first movers and companies who take that very seriously, maybe like Natalie, they think on a completely other way, and they think first about the business, think about the cost to acquire a customer, the customer lifetime value. What does it mean that you leave a customer because it opted out from a newsletter, because you don't get the opt-in at the beginning? Yeah, so the cost to acquire a customer maybe goes up because you have to re-ask, you have to catch it again in the internet. Yeah? And I think here's a lot of potential. And for example, to give you a live or example from one of our clients is Decathlon. It's in the e-commerce industry. So they have a bunch of different sports gadgets and clothes that they sell. Yeah? And they started, I think, 2 years ago to put this privacy in the core of their business model. So by thinking of it in a business context, yeah, and putting own privacy customer journey in place to think about all the touch points where privacy is important. Consent for cookies, consent for marketing, consent for sales, consent for offline interaction, whatsoever. And then attach that to data strategy, right? And on an organizational perspective, that also can lead to a massive improvement. Because if the data team and if you have a privacy team or a dedicated privacy person work together, you can, on the one side, get more of it, meaning on a business sense, and also lower the risk because you take it seriously. So this is basically, these 2 points are basically that I want to give you, and that's basically what we see from companies which take that seriously and sometimes maybe are first movers. And they have as well a very nice business outcomes, because that's most of the time the point where you get the management then as well involved, because they want to have higher revenue, they want to reduce costs, etc.
Cool, yeah. Because before we're taking it over to Carolina, you mentioned consent rate. Could you give us a hint? What is the consent rate on average at the moment? And is it decreasing or increasing? So in general?
So first, we have a dedicated website for that, where our data team made a benchmark of industries, and then from our clients. That's one thing. At the end, it depends. That's more a legal answer usually, or answer from lawyers. I also studied law, so maybe I'm allowed to say that. It really depends on the environment. If it's a website, even if it's an app, CTV, the big screen. And it depends on the industry. If you speak about publishers, they take it very seriously, because it's directly linked, the opt-in rate, to their revenue, basically. Yeah. Usually they have tried to have very high opt-in rates. If you ask me a question, if you ask me a number, I would say between 70 to 85% is good. Yeah. We have some companies who have 98%. But it's not just the consent. It's also, you have to check the ad blocker rate, the bounce rate. And then you have to think there's a human being interacting with you. And what does it mean if they don't give you the consent? Do they trust you? Yes or no? So I think that's pretty interesting. If you dig deeper here a little bit, and you will find a lot of improvement. That's at least what we see from our clients.
Definitely. Consent management should not be only seen by a legal perspective and from a technical perspective, but also from the user perspective. This is what I meant with being really user-centric also here. Yeah. So Carolina, what you want to add to the elaboration of Stefan? And of course, I would also like that you go also a bit on the topics of ESG and security, because you were offering more holistic compliance solutions also. And I think it could be also interesting if these topics are coming more to the surface, and the GDPR is more maybe not that on the table anymore.
I think Stefan already said everything, and I support what Stefan says. I will focus more on the question of our holistic solution. The digitalization and cybersecurity gets more and more important, and the number of attacks on computer and network increases and raises. We're having daily reports on the media of huge data breaches and fines following the breach of data protection laws. So the goal of the targeters is to have a financial advantage, to obtain the data, to receive some company secrets, and to sell them on the digital market. The consequences of this could be devastating for the companies, because it could lead to loss of image and reputation, and also it could lead to the loss of trust in the company from both sides. It's from the customers and from the employees themselves. But compliance is not only protecting the data and the information, it is also protecting and it's also a goal to create a safe environment for the employees. Because there are some regulations following sexual harassment, anti-corruption, and so on and so on. So in the recent 5 years, we have observed the situation, and we came to the conclusion that it's not only important to invest to the privacy pillar, it's not only interesting to invest in the information security pillar, and it's not enough to invest only in the compliance pillar. We should see that as a fully compliance house. I would say the PIC house, so privacy, information and compliance house, which can lead to the total compliant company. I brought an example. I brought an example to showcase how a company could improve their situation on the market, how they could improve their standards and their trust on the market. So investing in PIC is a benefit to the business. The company we supported was a company of about 300 people who was a tech company and who were working with a lot of sensitive data. And I was the leading consultant for this company, and within a very short time, I received a lot of data breach notifications of potential data breaches. So I reached out to the company, and they received a lot of phishing emails. People were not aware, people clicked on some links, people even gave some data, some personal data. It came to some loss of image, of even financial disadvantages, because some people provided even some money to the sender of the email. But investing in the PIC helped the company to benefit for several reasons, and this is the special case shows how successful we could help and develop this company. So the measures as a DPO I took, and the measures we took as a company for this company was training with our DataGuard Academy. We provide some very, very good trainings to raise awareness of phishing. How do I detect a phishing email from other emails? What are the trigger points? How can I recognize this email to not click on the link or to not provide some personal data? Additionally, I started a Q&A session for the company employees, because there were some respective questions. They had some special questions on this topic. They had some needed some special information on this topic, so I helped them personally as a human being. And then the company decided to have an additional measure, what was very interesting and helped them a lot, to hire an external company who is simulating phishing attacks. And after that, the managers and the DPOs receive a report where you can see from 300 people who clicked on the link, how many people clicked on the link, and then the percentage. And slowly, we had a very good picture that all these measures taken could improve the employees and the employees' awareness, what led to risk minimization, because the people were aware of these emails. They knew how to recognize a phishing email, to not click on any links, to not provide any personal data, and the internal reporting system. So reporting it to the information, the CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer, to report it to the DPO, to report it to the compliance officer. And by training, so the result was, I can tell you some numbers. So 350 people at the end. 2 people clicked on the link, which was what was a percentage, about 1%, what was a huge success for the company. So the next benefit is limitation of damages and preventing loss of data and data theft. So any kind of hacker attack, phishing attack, leads to loss of data, loss of image, loss of reputation. By implementing the systems, by implementing these measures, the company could keep up the reputation and be successful in the future.
And of course, also being very compliant to the GDPR, because this is one of the pointers was stated in the GDPR, that there should be also trainings for the employees, and that they have also to be empowered to know about the rules. So, thank you so much. I would really like, because it was very interesting to see it also from this kind of a security angle, because this is often, not that much on the surface, like all those real hard GDPR topics. So what I would like now to do is also invite you as an audience, if you do have some questions to those experts here on the stage, please use it now and shoot your questions. I see there is one already. A microphone is coming. And please, could you also say your name and maybe the company where you're working for, so if you want.
All right, cool. So yeah, my name is Wes, coming from the company OrderGrid. My question was around the concept of the safe harbor laws, the data shield laws, or rather legislation rather than laws. I have strong opinions about them, and I'm not going to say them now because I actually have a question. But that question is, should we or should we not, as a block, try to avoid that legislation, because that just effectively creates, in my opinion at least, a too easy a way to get around the specific requirements of the GDPR, data privacy regulation in general. Because, I mean, to give you a privacy shield as an example, it was the reason why it was put to bed is largely because it was abused. It was just largely ignored, or was given as an excuse for some of the DPAs to not enforce data privacy in some derogations. What are your thoughts on that?
Who wants to take this question, or do you have somebody you want to address directly?
Oh no, anybody's good. Rather, more clearly, everyone is good.
I'm sorry, I didn't get which law you want to avoid.
Oh well, in the case of like the Privacy Shield and Safe Harbor, those are being sunsetted, right? And something else is coming to take its place. Is that a bad idea? That's the short version.
Yeah, I mean,
it's the United States we're talking about, so I mean, I think it should be clear why this is a bad idea. But I would love to know your ideas.
It's a difficult question. I mean, as we see that now, you can get a 1 billion fine for using standard contractual clauses and not doing it correctly. So companies would love to get another solution. The problem with the other solution is that it's, in my opinion, it will be time limited. It will be appealed and challenged by Max Schrems, and the question is it Schrems proof? That's the question of this new model.
I do like Schrems proof.
Yeah, is it Schrems proof? That's always the question. Even European parliamentarians have posed this question in discussion. Will it be Schrems proof? That's the question. So can companies rely on that? And I think if it's not really reliable, it's a danger, because then companies will rely on that for 3, 4, 5 years, and then again we will stand here and have no solution again, like we had 2 times before. And that's the big risk I see with that one. Yeah.
Natalie, I think you also want to say something to that.
No, my point would be, I think we have to take GDPR very serious, and I'm very happy that legislation is taking it very serious, and that we have decisions which reflect what GDPR wants to say us. I think we have to take it serious. Well, I would say GDPR, it is not complicated. It is very complex, but it's not complicated. And we have to be aware of that. Everybody can do GDPR. It's not that, it's easy to follow GDPR, but we think sometimes that it's too complicated to understand. But it is not complicated. It's very complex, and we have some really good specialists in the data privacy world, good DPOs who can take over the complexity. And but it's not complicated. I think that's very important to say. And yeah, we are not very happy with the situation now, and it's really a burden for a DPO to do data transfer impact assessment, knowing that everything you do will not be sufficient to be compliant, and we take every step we get this data privacy transfer agreement, how is
Transatlantic Data Privacy Framework.
Framework. So every 3 years there's another name. Yes, and we will take it, and we rely on it. We will rely on it, because otherwise we cannot do our business anymore.
Yeah, let me add just a few words here. I think, yeah, as you said, you can do GDPR. It's not impossible. We have done transfers with standard contractual clauses. We found an encryption solution, for example, so that it cannot be decrypted. You can deal with Google Analytics. We're sitting here under JENTIS, and they have a tool. We have just implemented this with one client, and it helps. So there are solutions, you can do it. And for me, it's a bit surprising to, for example, as we were talking about cookies, you go on a website and you see in 1 second, okay, there is a yes button, but there is no button. So you see in 1 second, this company seems not to be compliant. And the funny thing is, if you go on the second layer, the things continue. Then you go on the data protection information, you see it's bad done. Then you get in contact with the company because they are used as a sub-processor of a client, and it's all a mess. And it shows me, it starts with, for me, a cookie ban is like a business card you give to someone, and you have got a big coffee stain on your business card. It's just ugly looking today. And if someone gives you a business card with a coffee stain, you think, what's the problem? Why doesn't he have a good business card? And what's behind this guy and this company? And often I see that the second and the third and the fourth glance on it, and then you look deeper in it, there is no privacy in there. And as you said, you need to live it in a holistic way, and the teams have to work together. That's the really issue we see in practice. The legal team, the privacy team, and the technical team, and the ads team, they need to sit down and work together. And still many companies don't get this. And it's amazing. If you do it, then you get a big solution and you have to build it in your company. And then it's all working smooth and running. So it's not impossible. You just need to do it. But if you start with that coffee stain on your website, sort of, it doesn't look good and people will not be happy. And as you said, I see it from my side as a user. If I go on a website and I feel, okay, they have no button or just accept only necessary cookies, I think about getting away from that website, because I think, why don't they do it? I mean, it's not so difficult. I don't know them, so why should I put my data there? Why should I put something there? It's probably not the most intelligent solution to do it like that. Just to collect a few cookie clicks is maybe less business than me staying on the website and really buying a product in the end. This would give the turnover and not the cookies, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe one thing from my side, so I totally agree regarding the Visitenkarte, the website or the cookie banner in this sense. I just want to refer to the question and put one step back. I think you will find good arguments that that's a good thing, regarding data transfer to the ES, like at least the framework, or you will find arguments that make it maybe people unhappy. You will find that in GDPR, ePrivacy, Digital Marketing Act, Digital Service Act, you name it, there are a bunch of things out there. But I think what we really have to consider, and I believe in that, and I think this will help us in Europe. In Europe, privacy is a fundamental right? I think that's the core of all the regulation behind it. And what is the outcome of that? There's now as well another mismatch. The digital industry is you're successful if you make it easy for the user. I think we have a lot of big companies out there which have a lot of success because they provide something which is easy to use, and we like that. We don't want to spend too much time in things that takes us from other stuff. That's one thing. But privacy helps us. It's maybe a frame for the easiness. Helps us to dig deeper, in our data strategy, in the relationship with third parties. A lot of you have a lot of vendors on your websites, third parties on the websites. Most of the time, maybe it was an agency who put something there. It was super easy, and then I think, okay, that's all fine. Then ePrivacy comes, or GDPR, a topic, and you are forced to jump into this, and I have a lot of these discussions, and there are a lot of aha effects, because then the companies really sees what happens there, which relationship they have. It's not just a digital relationship with someone with which you share data. It's basically a business relationship. Maybe there should be a contract, not just something else. So I think privacy in Europe helps us to improve our data strategy, to think about our users. Yeah? And I think that's a big asset to other countries out there, and we should surf the wave, if you may, this comparison.
Yes, definitely. I would fully underwrite that. But, and here's my but, this is the perspective of the big companies, of course. Yeah. So what we also have to always have in mind are the small, the SMEs, and Austria is the country of SMEs. And then it becomes a bit tricky. Not being not compliant and neglecting the GDPR, definitely not, but to forehold all those activities like Verfahrensverzeichnis and all those things, because this is an effort, a big effort. And if you have not that resources there, and the resources you have is cutting hairs, plumbing, the toilets and all those things, then it's getting more or less very complex, let's say it like that. This is just what I want to add, and there comes my next question to it. Do we think that there is a necessity to adapt the GDPR in topics of bureaucracy? Because there is some bureaucracy definitely also in the GDPR, and which comes with the GDPR. Is there a need for it? Natalie, what do you see about that? I know you're coming from a big company, of course, from a group of companies, but you are also in various groups where also the SMEs are represented. So how is your vision on that?
Well, actually, my answer is no. There is no need to adapt GDPR. I think it's very worthwhile and very important to have some very basic requirement of documentation and transparency. And even small companies should take the time to document their processes. And because I think it's very important to learn how the business works, how the processes are implemented. If you start to document it in, for example, by a Verfahrensverzeichnis, I think it's very worthwhile for each company, for each owner, to have a transparent documentation of what you are doing. Then I think it's very, very good thing of GDPR to have to do it. So in whole, I think I told it yesterday, it's quite a pity that if you use software in nowadays, even a small company, you should rely on GDPR fitness of the software. But in the end, you are responsible that the software you use, you offer your employees that it's GDPR compliant. But you never know, because you have to rely on the vendor. So I think that's quite problematic for small companies, that they have to take responsibility for third-party content or software which they cannot.
So this is maybe the issue then. What we should kind of make an adaptation or rethink about this. Responsibility for having vendors, especially vendors from the US or digital giants, where you should rely on it. Yeah, definitely. I would assure it. Yeah, I think we could discuss and speak about that topics the next hour also, but there is a time plan and a schedule behind it. So I really have to come now to the end and to the last words of all of you. And what I would like to invite you is that what is your advice for a successful data compliance strategy, thinking about all the challenges they are facing currently? And I'm not only speaking about the data, transferring the data to the US, but we also have some new challenges on the agenda, like AI, of course. And they're still lacking lex specialis of ePrivacy, which is not there at the moment. So what is your advice? So please make it short in 2 sentences. What the audience should take with them and start the next day to do.
Okay, so I will start this question and start with my answer. So my advice would be just try to structure your company, try to define the processes, document it in a register of processing activities, find out your technical and organizational measures taken, train the employees, because the employees are the most dangerous part of a company when not trained. And yes, so finally, protect the people behind the data.
Thank you. Natalie.
Well, I think be and stay curious, and yeah, take the self-confidence you need to yes, make sure that you know GDPR, that you know the processes, but stay curious and have a look at other regulations which are in front of the door, and yeah, I think it will happen, and yeah, no fear.
Thanks. Stefan.
I think I have three points, and to try to make it short. First, a more general one. Treat people like you would want to be treated. In a sense, for example, respect their privacy. You don't want to get a ad about a wedding when you just divorced. You don't want to get an ad about Father's Day when Father's Day is in 1 week. So you should think about that. The second point is put privacy in the core of your business, and try to put together all the different mindsets. We had it before: legal team, technical team, but as well the business team. And in this sense, privacy and data goes for me together, and you will see a lot of good benefit out of it. And the last thing is just do it, like Nike said it, because most of the time we go out and then we forget about it and then that's it. But I think it's time to do that. You will feel more comfortable if the legal team comes to you because you know what you do, you know your vendors, and I think that makes life easier, and that should be the goal. Thank you.
Thank you. Heiner.
I don't have an advice, I have a wish. A wish to the audience. It's 2 points. Make your business more interactive and use AI. And I give you 3 examples. First, I'm using a backpack, a rucksack to carry my stuff to the office, and I buy a new one like every 5 years, and I have one model which I like since 10 years and always rebuy it. And then I knew exactly where to look at it. I found it, I bought it, and then for like 2 months I was really followed by backpacks in the internet. Wherever I looked at, I had ads from that, and I was really feeling how many money is wasting to convince me to buy another one. No, I already bought it, so why can't I click on one of these ads and say, sorry, I bought it, forget about it, and I'm not going to buy a new one in the next 5 years. So that's one example where I really felt sorry for the companies investing useless money, because I won't buy another one for the next 5 years, because I just need one, and they should be intelligent enough to somehow know that I bought it and I'm not interested in anymore. And the second thing is I'm now trying to set up my summer holidays, and I want to drive through Norway and Sweden, so I was looking for flights and used the booking platform to book a flight for the first destination, and then I booked a hotel in Oslo, and I booked a hotel in Stockholm, and where I want to fly back. And now the system sends me emails every second day. Won't you buy a flight back from Oslo? No, because stupid platform, I am flying back from Stockholm, obviously, because it's my last destination, and the system is not intelligent enough to realize it. And then I used, for the first time, Bing with the ChatGPT function, and asked Bing, okay, can you give me car hire companies in Norway? And I was really amazed, because the chat GPT answered with the Bing function, okay, here is a link to the cheapest offering, here's another link to another cheap company, and the third link is on nice routes, how to drive through Norway and see great things. And I was like, okay, but my booking platform never gave me such a solution or such a suggestion. Where should I drive to? Because I don't know exactly. And then they could suggest me a route and give me more hotels, and I would book more. So please use AI. I will love it. And I give you all my data with consent. If it's great, you get all my data with a consent. I really will waste money there for my holidays, but make it more intelligent. That's my wish.
Thank you. This wish I really want to highlight because it says more or less the relevance. So being relevant with your offering, being transparent with your offering will win the heart of your users, of your customers. And yeah, so now it is the time to say thank you for your expertise you shared with us, with the audience today. And thank you for being such a good audience and also asking that question. I think most of you are also here during lunch break and questions could be also dropped there. And yeah, last thing is staying curious. I think this sums it up. Staying curious for the rest of the day. Thank you so much for having us. And yeah, wish you a successful conference today and tomorrow. Thank you.